Hi everybody, just a short video today to look at well, I was going to say tool, but this is more of a concept than it is a tool. That concept being our ability to automate many of the commands that we use on a frequent basis. So as an example, I've created some videos recently where we talked about the hatch to back or text to front commands, and if I was going to execute one of those commands from the command line, if I were to type in hatch to, we see the full command is hatch to back. Long to type. It'd be nicer to have like a shortcut to do that, like HTB for hatch to back or TTF for text to front. However, the way that we would typically do that is we would go in and start modifying some of the underlying settings or customization or customizable files within the AutoCAD environment, like ACAD PGP, and there may be other ways that our system folks have done that. The challenging thing with that is not all end users have access to go in and modify that file. However, we'd still like the ability to, maybe on a user-by-user basis, be able to create some of their own shortcuts and maybe even make those shortcuts portable that we can use them from machine to machine or office to office. We'll also look at how they can be maybe non-destructive customization, if you will, in that we can create these things, leverage them, and when we leave our AutoCAD environment, those customizations go away. So very cool feature and function. I'm going to refer to it as Simple LISP, which is LISP is AutoLISP. It's a programming language that we can write code within AutoCAD to perform any number of different operations. You might be thinking I'm not a programmer, so this obviously doesn't apply to me. But if you've typed commands in before, you're already 90% of the way there. Just need to know how to execute a couple of functions within Lisp, add a couple of parentheses, you're ready to go. In most cases, the line of code that you'll be writing for a command is basically one line or less. All right, so let's take a look at how this works. I'm going to hit escape to cancel out of that command, and I'm going to open up the folder that I'm in right now, my Tuesday folder. We can see the Simple Lisp file that I'm in. I'm going to open up my list folder. I've got one in here already. Let's go ahead and delete that, and we're going to make a new one. So we'll say new, start as a text document because we'll be doing it with Notepad. We'll call it Tuesday.lisp. I'll hit enter. I get a warning that, hey, you're modifying that from a TXT file. Would I like to change it? Absolutely, I would. And then I'm going to double pick on it to launch Notepad here that I can go in and start modifying it. Okay, so to build my hatch to back command, first thing I'm going to do is all Lisp routines begin with an open parenthesis. We're going to say defun, which means define function. I'll say C:, which means that anything after this is the command that I would type in at the command line. So we'll say HTB for hatch to back, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. Then we'll put in one more, because I don't have any parameters that I'm going to pass to it. Then I'm going to put in another parenthesis here. We're going to say command, because now think of this like the command line within your AutoCAD or Civil 3D environment. This is what we would type at the command line. So in quotation marks, we'll say hatch to back, close quotation, close parenthesis. And then we're going to do one more thing. Whenever you launch a Lisp routine within AutoCAD, when it completes, it always completes with some value. It returns some value. In this case, it's executing a command, so there is no value to return. It'll put nil on at the command line. So to suppress the nil from always being displayed, we're going to say open and close parenthesis PRINC, which will suppress that. We'll have close parenthesis, and we're done. So basically, that's all we have to write to build a new command that we can say HTB, hit enter, and it'll automatically launch the hatch to back command. So let's go ahead and save this. So we'll save it. Then just minimize that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and hold on this Lisp routine, and then I'm just going to drag it into my AutoCAD-based environment. And when I let go, I get a warning that pops up. I'm writing code now. I've got to make sure I'm aware of what it is I'm loading, that it wasn't created by some nefarious source. This Tuesday Lisp was obviously created by us right now, so it's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to load it once. This gets into the non-destructive customization, if you will. I'm going to load this. I'm going to have access to the routine or any additional routines that I've created. And when I exit out of my environment, that customization goes away. All right, I could say always load, then it would always be there, but maybe this is something I'd like to, also be able to, if I was on somebody else's machine, I wouldn't necessarily want to start redefining any of their commands or adding new ones. We just load it once and be ready to go. So we'll just load it once so that at the end of our session, any customization we make with commands will automatically go away until the next time we drag it in. So we'll say load once. If you come down here to the bottom, we can see that it worked in that the last command that was defined in the Lisp file was displayed at the command line, that being HTB. So if we look, we've got some hatch here with this solid disk. So I'm going to say HTB, and notice the autocomplete. It's automatically picking that up as a valid command now. So we'll say HTB. When I hit enter, it automatically sends all the hatch to back. All right, so that quickly, one command, we're ready to go. Let's come back and take a look at this. We also want to look at text to front. So we'll double pick to open this guy up. We're going to come down. Let's look at doing the same thing. You know what? Just to save myself some typing here, I'm going to copy this, hit enter, come down to the next line here. We'll paste it. This one is going to be text to front, TTF. And then the command that we're going to launch is going to be text to front. All right, these are commands. Like I said, whatever you would type at the command line, that's what it is. You can cut and paste from here and paste it up into here. That works fine. If you make a mistake, don't worry about it. If the Lisp routine fails, you can see what point it failed. You're not writing a ton of code. So if it failed, you might have misspelled something or had the command incorrect. All right, no big deal. You can just move right on. So let's go ahead and save that. Minimize it. We're going to drag it back in again. We drag it in. The second time, we see now the last routine that was in there is TTF. So the first one was our HTB, then TTF. Everything seems to have loaded correctly. It doesn't give us the dialog this time because it's already been loaded. We said load it once. So this session, it's good with that Tuesday.lsp file. So now if I come down here, we're going to say TTF. That automatically is part of our autocomplete. We'll go ahead and hit enter. It'll ask us through that command which text we would like to bring to front. We'll say all of it. We'll hit enter, and all my text is now in front. Now you might look at it and say, hey, maybe I always want all. If I do TTF, I don't even want it to ask me. Just bring all of it to the front all the time. So I'm going to hit U to undo. We'll back up so that it's in the back again. Let's bring our Lisp file back up here. So if I come back to my Lisp file, now we're going to say text to front, and then I'm going to say the equivalent of an enter, which is like a quotation. Well, actually, let's do a quotation. I could spell out all, but that was the default. So we'll just do an enter at the end, and that should allow that to work for us. So we'll say save. Go ahead and minimize that. Let's open up my folder here again. We'll drag that guy back in. We've got a new text to front. Let's give that a stab. We'll say TTF, and when I hit enter, it automatically brought everything to the front. Never even asked me the question. It automatically responded with all. All right, so very powerful command. It's kind of a combination of typing things in from the command line. It's a bit of a combination of doing script, where you write what you'd execute at the command line. We're saving it in a Lisp file with some parentheses. All right, let's dial it up another notch here. See how much further we can go with this. When I work in files, sometimes when I open it, especially if it's somebody else's, I'd like to see exactly what's in there. So some things may be off, some things may be frozen. I might even have some things isolated. So let's turn some layers off here. Of course, I picked the one that is the current layer, so we'll say no for that one. Let's turn this guy off. Let's freeze this guy. And let's do one other thing that, other things I may not be able to see. If I select my line here, I'm going to right click and we're going to say hide selected objects. Okay, so there could be a number of things in this file. I would like to have a command where I could just say on. I just type in on. It's automatically going to thaw every layer. It's going to turn every layer on. It's also going to automatically unisolate any objects so that when I'm done, I should be able to see everything. And if I'm forgetting something, we could add that to the command later as well to further refine that. Okay. Now to unisolate, if I'm interested in what that command is, I can come down here. We can select unisolate objects, end object isolation. And when I run that, it'll tell me what the actual command is. All right. So I would copy and paste that. Let's go ahead and undo the effects of that. And then we would add that to our file. So let's come back to our Tuesday Lisp file and let's take a look at one of those. So we'll open that up. We'll make a new command here. We'll say defun C:, and we're going to have our new master on command. Open parenthesis, close parenthesis. We'll say command. We're going to take and run. It's layer command. Now, if you think about that, when you type in layer, you get a dialog box. Dialog boxes aren't going to help us here because we have no mechanism to manage the dialog box. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a minus in front of that so we get the command line version of that command. So we're going to say layer. Then what happens if we have the command line version? We're going to say layer, we'd hit enter, and then we're going to say on, and then we'd hit enter, and then we're going to say asterisk, which means turn everything on. Then we have enter. Then we're not done. We'd say thaw, enter, and then we'd say asterisk, we want to thaw everything. And then to get out of the layer command, we would hit enter one more time. So just like we did previously, I'll just have the quotation marks. All right, now to unisolate objects, we'll go right into the next command. We'll say quotation unisolate objects. All right, I should probably cut and paste that, but I believe I spelled that correctly. We'll see. Close parenthesis. And then we'll do our PRINC at the end. That'll suppress the nil for us. All right. So basically, we're creating a master on command that's going to go to the command line layer, turn on everything, thaw everything, hit enter to exit the command. Then it's going to run unisolate objects, which is a single command. And when I'm done, I should be able to see everything. So we'll say save. Going to minimize that. Let's take and drag that in. I'm going to let go. All right, we now see that that command is the last one on the list, is our master on command. So now if I type this, whether the layers are on, off, thawed, frozen, isolated, whatever, I should see everything. So we'll type in on, automatically shows up in my list. We'll hit enter, and everything now in my file, whether it was isolated, hidden, or otherwise, I'm now able to gain access to. All right. Pretty powerful tool, especially if we start looking at ways we can string it together. Last one I want to show you is I also have the ability to start accessing things within my interface. What I mean by that, I have a tendency to use, and maybe I'll make some videos on some of these transparent commands within Civil 3D to show how powerful some of these can be, but I use this toolbar quite a bit. All right, the challenging thing is, if this toolbar is turned off, where exactly do I go back to get it from? Do I have to go into the menu? If I have all my toolbars shut off and I want to turn on something specific, it'd be nice that I had, those are transparent commands. I'd like to make a command that's called CTC for like my civil transparent commands that automatically brings up that toolbar. All right, maybe I call it CTB for, civil transparent, CTT, civil transparent toolbar. All right, you can make it whatever you want. Let's do this. To see where that is, I'm going to type in CUI. We'll take a look at the menu here. And under our civil menu, this is where we'll get civil from. I'm going to come down and look under toolbars. Here's the toolbar for my transparent commands. So that's the name of the toolbar. So we're going to go ahead and select that, and we see the actual official thing that we're going to use is transparent_commands. That's how we're going to reach that. All right, so let's close out of the CUI. I just want to show you where I could go to find that. I could do that with the AutoCAD ones as well. But let's go ahead and open back up our file, and we'll do our last example here. So we'll open that up. Going to drag this guy down. We'll say, we'll just do it from scratch. Defun, define function, C:, we'll say CTC. Open, close parenthesis, open parenthesis. So CTC, actually, we'll do civil transparent commands. That'll be for my toolbar. Make my executive decision. We'll say command. All right, what I would type in at the command line. To get a toolbar up on the screen, there is a toolbar command, but that is a command that also launches a dialog. Doesn't help us. So we're going to type in the command with a minus in front of it. That'll give us the command line version that's available. So we'll say minus toolbar. The name of the toolbar we went in and looked at was civil dot transparent underscore commands, close quote. All right, so civil menu, and then the actual name of the toolbar is transparent commands. If it came from the AutoCAD menu, it would be AutoCAD dot modify or modify one, whatever it happens to be. We'd have to go in and look to see the list which one we're looking for. We'll say open quote, close quote for we'd hit enter at the end of that command to do it, to execute or to complete the command. We'll say prints to suppress the nil at the end, and then we'll close quote, and we're good to go. All right. Any of these things, I'm typing these in because I know what I would type in at the command line. If you're not as familiar with the command line versions of the commands itself, just start typing into the command line, and then you type it in. All right, I got that far. Then you just start writing it down. Once I write that down, then I know what to string into here to make that work. All right. So we've got CTC as our command, toolbar, transparent commands. We're good. I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to drop that down. Let's drag this guy in for the last time. We'll drag him in. All right, CTC is my last command, and if we type that in, CTC, autocomplete, it automatically finds it. If I hit enter, it should bring up that toolbar, and when I hit enter, that toolbar is visible for me on the screen. All right, so just that quick, I can automatically turn that toolbar back on if it was turned off, dock it wherever I need it to be, or if I don't know where it is or how to find it, I could just execute CTC, and boom, that toolbar is visible for me on the screen. Okay. Only other tip that I would give you before I leave is if you're going to start creating your own commands, always take a look to see if the command already exists. What I mean, there may be something already that you've not taken advantage of that already does what you're looking to do. The other thing is if you're going to create a shortcut, make sure that that shortcut isn't already taken by something else. You absolutely wouldn't want to create a new command to export and have it be X if X is already mapped to be explode. All right, so you come up with something else like EX or something like that. Okay, actually EX is for extend, so you'd have to come up with even something different than that. So always check that out before you start building your own to make sure you're not overwriting or conflicting with anything that already exists in the interface. All right. So very, very powerful tool. Like I said, we can build shortcuts for our commands all day long. When we drag it in and we say load once, it loads it for this session. If I close Civil 3D or my AutoCAD environment, those commands are gone till the next time I load and drag it back in again, which makes it portable. If I'm going to go work on somebody else's machine or a different office, or just somebody else is running AutoCAD in a different location, they can drag that in and automatically have access to those commands. So hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. See ya.